John, I read your op-ed. Rudy had forwarded it to me, and your brother Sam as well had sent it over
this morning.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. We just have to get the Prime Minister to read it.
Yeah.
So I might need some help in that regard.
No, it was very well written. I appreciate your comments on that for sure.
Well, maybe we can talk later. We have some ideas about the banking, that issue, and how to handle it. I've talked to some people, and there might be some solutions there that we can help out a lot of people. So that would be great.
For sure. Would be happy to do that, John.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to begin in just a few minutes.
Hey, Prab, how's it going in Brampton?
Always great. Greatest city in the world.
Well, I don't know about that. Come on.
No, it's been good. You know what? The case numbers have been coming down the last couple of days, I think, for all of us across the province. So I think that's always a good
For sure.
Get the vaccines out there. Hopefully the feds can procure some more vaccines so we can start getting them distributed. That's the goal.
Well, that's the only issue right now is getting the vaccines and getting them out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Faster they vaccinate, the faster
we can get back to normal.
Yep.
Well, I'm happy that all the long-term cares have been done, right?
Yeah, that's a big start for us.
Yeah. I think
Hello,
Jake,
everybody.
there he is.
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
Okay, Jake, we really believe you.
Thank God for Sheldon. He got me out of the fire this time. So, like usual. So, I'm sorry for being a few minutes late, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Port Credit BIA virtual town hall. I'd like to first welcome a couple of our very important guests of Rudy Cuzzetto and Prabmeet Sarkaria. Nice meeting you, Prabmeet, to finally meet you.
Pleasure is mine. Thanks, Jake.
And I also want a little shout out to a couple of guests that are on today. Susie Godfrey from for Brampton BIA, as well as Stephen Smith, the chair of the newly formed Cooksville BIA, is attending today. As well as Sohini Rana, who is a new executive director for Cooksville BIA.
You just do.
We also have with us our operations manager, for those who don't know, Natasha MacKinnon. She's been with the BIA now probably for a year and a half, I'd say. And she coincides with our business development manager, Dianne Dela Cruz. So we also have our Ward 1 councillor, Stephen Dasko, who's joining us today. So welcome everybody on board. We're going to really try and shoot through this first 10 minutes of a few updates, 15 minutes, and then we're going to get right to our members who are going to have some questions for our special guests today.
Thank you, Jake. So everyone, before we get started, just a few reminders. Please remember to keep your microphone on mute until it's your turn to speak. We will be opening the floor in the second half of our presentation. We will call on you one by one, so please hold on to your questions and comments until then. And of course, please be respectful and let everyone have their chance to speak.
Here's our agenda for today, folks. We're going to have a quick update from our Councillor Stephen Dasko, and then myself. I'm going to give a quick BIA update after that. Natasha and Dianne will give an update with the ongoing BIA initiatives. And then we'll pass it to Rudy Cuzzetto, as well as our special guest of small business, for Prabmeet Sarkaria, who is the Associate Minister of Small Business and Red Tape Reduction. And then we're going to have an open floor for all our members, and especially members who've been on before, that have always sat back and haven't had any questions, or probably a lot of times you get off these calls and say, I wish I would have asked this, I wish I would have asked that. We really encourage our members to use this opportunity to ask questions directly to our MPPs that are on with us today. Without further ado, I'm going to then introduce our Councillor Stephen Dasko to give a municipal update from Ward 1. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Jake. And hi, everyone. It's great to see everybody here this afternoon. And you know, I don't have a lot to add, as this is a call that's been organized by our MPP, and I think we all want to hear from him, and also from Minister as well that's joined us. What I would like to say is, I think it's great that the BIA is really leading the charge. There's BIAs and then there's BIAs. You know, you hear from some other folks in other jurisdictions in terms of their BIAs, and you know what you get for those that are pushing the agenda. I think the BIA really is doing a lot of really great stuff. Jake, in particular, has gone from wanting to be the chair of the BIA to all of a sudden, in a pandemic, this has taken on another life of its own, for sure. So wanted to say thanks to Jake for all that he's been doing as well. And I think it would be remiss, because this is a time when Dianne and Natasha have really been kind of thrown into the deep end, for lack of a better word, along with Jake, because our guiding light for so many years, Beatrice, is no longer with us. So so that, being mindful of that. But I did want to say that you know, throughout the pandemic, as much as it is within the city's purview in terms of what we're able to do, I always, and I continue to keep pushing as much as possible for our local and small businesses. We'll continue to do that. One thing that is put into place, and it doesn't cover everybody's business by any stretch, and I can appreciate that. But one thing that we have done is the fee waiving for patios has been extended right out through till the end of this calendar year. So that is one initiative that is done. There's also, in terms of the use of outdoor spaces, and you don't have to be a restaurant or an eatery to do that. There's going to be the ability to make use of outdoor spaces a little bit more and be more flexible with it. So some of the parameters that were put in place over the years have been brought down. So it's that has been a fair bit of work in to get done, but a lot of that red tape, as you want to call it, has been cut back, so that when we are able to, and we're in a position to, that the barriers to our creative and entrepreneurial spirit isn't dampened by any stretch. So just wanted to make mention of that. And then the other thing that I just wanted to mention too is, you know, that I think one of the most powerful things I've seen recently is an article that was written by one of our very own business owners and board members, John Pappas. It really cuts through and captures the complete essence of what a lot of the small businesses are going through, what they're facing, and what that light would need to be just to get over this. Nobody's suggesting that that their businesses be completely funded for an infinite time by the government. I mean, that's not the intent. The intent is just to bridge that gap to get through to the other side and to be still surviving and as Jake would say, and thriving is what we want to have. So I just wanted to say welcome. Thanks for everybody being on here. You'll notice there's a lady on this call. Her name's Angie Dell. A lot of you do know her, some that don't. She's my executive assistant. And she will stay on for the balance of the call. I will have to drop off shortly because there's an LRT meeting that is at the same time. And unfortunately, I just have to drop off to attend to some pressing issues as the LRT construction is getting ramped up. So I turn it back over to you, Jake. Thanks. And thanks again for having all this.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, folks, I'll jump right in here just with a quick update to keep things moving along. Thank you, Councillor Dasko, for giving a bit of an update there. It's been a little while since we've gotten together. I think the last one was our annual general meeting several months ago in November, where we did have a record viewership, we'll say. And it was great to hear from a lot of our members and give an update of what's been going on this past year. Like we've mentioned before, when we came into the new board almost, I guess, 2 years ago now, we do a strategic plan that carries on for 4 years, which is the term of the volunteer board. And that strategic plan can be pinned down on our website. And we will be talking about getting a new website soon, which is in the works, which is very exciting. But a strategic plan that carries us to 2022 focuses on the components of beautification initiatives, health and safety, the BIA branding and pride, accountability, membership communication, and the operational map. So we gave a pretty detailed update on all of those during our annual general meeting, so we don't have to get into that today. But that's just what the structure of what this board put together a couple of years ago with the input from our members and able to reach the strategic plan at 2022. As I mentioned, the annual general meeting was back in November. And that went through all the details of our strategic plan, and we got to hear from our members, and we took note of any kind of questions, comments, and concerns to always try and improve the best we can year after year. It is a new year now, and the challenges in 2020, if we can get through 2020, we can get through anything. So we have some, cautiously optimistic about 2021. And we really hope that the bottom line is, and our guests can answer maybe these or shed some light on it, is the, I know it's a federal thing, but it is the vaccines and the rollout of those vaccines. It's our only basically hope to be able to, improve the health of everybody, but also the small businesses, which we're here about today. Want to talk a little bit about the Illuminate the Port updates. We have just finished kind of phase 1 of that. And Illuminate the Port is something that we feel as the BIA with our strategic partners in the community to try and bring some more light to Port Credit in the wintertime. And when I say more light, I mean we do want to make it and are looking into this and developing a plan to kind of make it, we all know Port Credit's a destination spot in the spring and the summer. But the winter months can be bleak and very quiet for our small businesses. And we're not talking this year, which is extremely bleak, but just in general. So this year with our strategic partners of Brightwater, the Port Credit Community Foundation, and the Port Credit BIA, we're able to raise enough funds to do the first section of the lighting of approximately 55 trees along the Port Credit Strip. We have got so much positive feedback from the community and the business community of how good they look. We took a different approach where they've always been rented in the past, taken up, taken down, and these expenses were extremely high to just rent these. So we have now purchased these lights. They're going to be up all year round. And those lights are just a first foundation of where we hope to go with really having a destination spot in the winter for people to come down and see all the brilliant lighting that we hope to get down in the future. The second phase, I'll let Natasha get into that if you want to talk about the second phase of the Illuminate the Port, Natasha.
Okay, great. Yes. So what we are doing is we are currently on phase 2 of Illuminate the Port, where we will have our monumental lighthouse lit with custom lighting all year round. So this is going to take place by the end of this month, early February. Back
Thank
to
you.
you, Jake.
A few people have said, oh, why are you investing in money during these dark times in the village on lighting and murals and all this sort of stuff? We feel it's more important now than ever to keep the vibrancy of our community growing and not putting a pause on that, because it does draw people down. Those people come down to maybe view the lighting, take a walk around the beautiful area of Port Credit, and also then go and shop, or maybe make a phone call to do a food delivery or do some curbside pickup with the limitations we have now. So we really think it's very important to invest, and we really look forward over the next couple of years to really building a destination spot in the winter time for people to come down to Port Credit, and then spill off of that will be, of course, the shopping and the assistance it will give to our small businesses.
Okay, you guys, I'm just going to jump right into it and give you a little bit more of an update as to what the B.I.A. office is currently working on. And then Natasha will tell you a little bit more about what 2021 is going to look like. So we've already touched on Illuminate the Port. In the last quarter of 2020, we really worked to brighten our streets. We hosted our very first virtual lighting of the lighthouse, and this was a tribute to a community event that's well known, that's normally done in person. And we didn't want to just throw that away because of COVID. So we decided to go virtual. It was really quite successful. And I'm not sure, Natasha, what was the viewership on that? Do you have that?
For the virtual lighting of the lighthouse was 8,700 views across all social media and digital platforms.
Perfect, thank you. So that was quite successful, and we hope to bring that again to you in 2021. And as you already know, Businesses Are People has been a strong campaign that we have been working on since 2020, and we are planning to continue to use it as our platform to bring attention to our B.I.A. businesses. So to date, we have had over 38,500 views since we introduced our very first video campaign. And since that video launch in October, we have incorporated posters that read "temporarily closed due to lockdown" on our business windows, and a Businesses Are People bus featuring some of our B.I.A. members, which travels all around Mississauga and its neighboring borders. And this continues to bring awareness to Port Credit, our village. And right now we are currently working on our next video campaign. It's called Businesses Are People, the Forgotten. And you will be hearing stories from Port Credit employees, Port Credit artists, performers, and other community members who are also facing hardships during the pandemic.
Thank you, Dianne. And I will just jump into our 2021 outlook. as Jake mentioned, we are continuing to improve beautification across our community. We are currently working on installing new murals around the village, a STEPS initiative collaboration, and permanently installing our giant Muskoka chair right across the library, as well as regulating our Keep PC Clean campaign. So make sure our garbage pickups are up to date, promote the safety and well-being of all our community and visitors. Moving into marketing, we are continuing on having a strong digital marketing presence for our Port Credit BIA members and community by introducing social media campaigns such as Takeout Wednesday, Retail Thursday, Today in the Port, and Virtual Fridays. Virtual Fridays focuses on classes and services our members in the community are providing online. This was introduced by our social media admin assistant, Quinton Lindsay. So we're really excited to launch that in the next couple of weeks. The Port Credit BIA's goal is also to take events virtually this year. We are going to bring back our monthly networking events, and we'll continue to have our farmers market return this year, spring 2021. Along with all these goals, they fall under advocating for our members, which is our top priority. So we're going to continue to do so through quarterly town halls and multiple campaigns throughout the year. Thank you. Now I'm going to toss it back to Jake. Please continue.
Thank you. I'm just going to quick introduction. That doesn't have to be long here at all because we all know Rudy. He can be seen almost daily delivering food and supplies to all his constituents that are in need during this crisis. I will give a really big thanks to him. He was the one that reached out to me to ask if Prabmeet could talk to the BIA and our members. And we really appreciate you taking that initiative, Rudy. And I'll turn it over to you and you can introduce our special guest as well, Rudy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you for all the hard work you do at the Port Credit BIA and all the BIA support staff and your dedication to help our small businesses, especially during COVID-19. I'll just talk a little bit about what I've been doing over the last while since March 20th. I've been busy donating across the community, like you mentioned, including 10,000 disinfectant wipes to the Compass Food Bank and many more across the Port Credit area. As well, I've been busy at the Treasury Board finding funds for supporting our small businesses and other programs that we are trying to implement at the province level. For a small business, our government has temporarily passed eviction and commercial tenant to protect them from being locked out or having their assets seized, and introducing the Digital Main Street program to help up to 22,900 small businesses reach our consumers online. We have also provided $350 million in relief for individuals and commercial energy consumption, as well as a 6-month interest and penalty-free period for Ontario business to file their returns and to remit most provincial taxes. All of these supports would not exist had it not been for our Associate Minister of Small Business and Red Tape Reduction, Prabmeet Sarkaria. Minister Sarkaria has shown that he will do anything that he can to help our small business, making him the right person to look after our small business, especially during this difficult time. Having Minister here today to provide us an update on Ontario response to COVID-19 will ensure our businesses get the support they need. With this being said, I would now like to welcome my good friend, my colleague, and the Associate Minister of Small Business and Red Tape Reduction, Prabmeet Sarkaria. I look forward to hearing your feedback, and I can't wait for the questions today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rudy, and an absolute pleasure to be here. And I really thank MPP Cuzzetto for putting this together. From the outset of the pandemic, I think Rudy has been probably one of the most active members within caucus that has really been pushing not only for his own community, but small businesses in general. And he's really led by example, I would say. Whether it's been on the PPE front, highlighting so many great local Mississauga businesses and what they've been doing, highlighting them all the way to the provincial level, to the provincial stage as well. And he's been a great advocate. And then also just giving back, there's probably no one that gives back as much as Rudy. Takes out time to help seniors. And I really appreciate that. It's a great example for all of us. So I appreciate everything that he's done as well. And Jake, thank you for having me here today as well. This is an opportunity. I know Susie's on the line as well, and all the staff as well. You guys have played an incredible role during this time, a very difficult and challenging time. My parents when I was growing up, ran I'm the son of two small business owners, if you want to put it that way. I know the struggle and challenges, even in good times, of how you run a business. So I can't even begin to think of what many of you are going through specifically, and even the more challenging times with this pandemic, and really on small businesses and the communities that have been impacted significantly. The government has put forward some support. So recently, Friday, we announced a new measure up to $20,000 for businesses that have been impacted directly by the government's shutdown or restrictions. So many of those, the eligibility can be found on ontario.ca/COVID supports or /small business. That links you to all of our business supports to date. But this program specifically is almost really no strings attached. It's comparing our April 2019 to April 2020 revenues. If they were decreased by 20%, you can be eligible up to a minimum of $10,000 up to $20,000. And if you're a new business, a seasonal business, those exceptions are also in place to help you get approval on those programs as well. On top of that, the government has put forward supports for businesses with 2 to 9 employees that can receive some help to offset PPE costs. We've also put forward rebates to cover the entire cost of your property tax and energy bill. So that would be 100% since we've entered into a red lockdown for Peel Region, which is as of actually October, early November. So all of those months continuing today, you can claim 100% of your revenue. 100% of your property tax and energy bills as well. For many of you who might be familiar, that a lot of the BIAs have been incredible in pushing out the Digital Main Street program, digital grants that help businesses pivot online. And we've really seen how significant that change has been, especially now with the pandemic and many of our storefronts closed. When we talk about restaurants, we were the first province and first jurisdiction in North America to legislate the cap of delivery fees. So when third-party operators like Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats or DoorDash for our restaurants being charged up to 30% or more in some circumstances, we were able to cap those fees as well through regulation. But all of that being said, all the supports that have been put in place, I'm not one to recognize, I'm not one to not understand that there are some businesses that are still struggling. There are some businesses that have fallen through the cracks, and I thought John had put forward a fairly, a really good op-ed in the Toronto Star just this past week that I'm sure many of us had read. Rudy had forwarded over to me, and so had John's brother, Sam. So there is still a lot of work to be done. I haven't mentioned some of the permanent changes our government made in last year's budget in terms of, energy costs, 14 to 16% on energy costs that many of you will be saving now going starting in January. Now, limited decrease in property taxes for businesses in Peel region. You could be seeing, close to 10% of that being reduced. The introduction of special small business tax rates that I hope, some of our municipalities can work with the provincial government on implementing. It's an optional program, but for smaller businesses, we're giving special consideration for the small business tax, a new small business tax category. So a lot of those structural changes being put in place as well to ensure that the future of the province economically can compete. But I'm also here to listen to what are some of the gaps that might exist, what are some of the issues that some of you might be having with the programs. If you're having issues applying, happy to hear where are some other programs the government can put forward as we look forward to the next phase of recovery and getting businesses back on their feet. The only last thing I can really leave all of you with is that, from a vaccination standpoint, we know that our way out of this is through vaccines, and the province of Ontario leads the entire country in vaccinations. As Rudy was mentioning earlier on the call, as everybody was logging in, we've finally completed all the LTCs here in Peel region, and it's really some light at the end of the tunnel. But we need to keep the pressure on our federal partners to continue, supplying the provinces with the vaccinations. I know there have been some setbacks recently with Pfizer worldwide and not getting as much to Canada right now, but I think, if all levels of government work together, this is the way out. And I've really appreciated the opportunity to work with all levels of government, regardless of our political stripes, to really get out of this. So I don't want to take up too much more time, and happy to pass it back to Jake, and just thank Rudy once again for giving me this opportunity to be here with all of you to hear about how we can continue to respond to this pandemic and support small businesses. Thank you very much. Jake, back over to you.
Thank you very much. And before I turn it over to the floor, I've got a couple questions from John Pappas, who's been mentioned a few times, and Martina, who've been advocating so much, all levels of government, and taking a leadership role on that, and we really appreciate that. So I'm going to let John keep that momentum going and start with the questions that he has, and then we'll get Natasha to go through our audience today with all our members. And like I said, you can either type the question in if you don't feel like speaking, but I know a lot of you sometimes get off these calls and say, I wish I would have asked a question. So please, now's your chance to do it. We got these great guests here, and you can hear directly from them. John, go right ahead.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you, Rudy, so much for putting this together, and MPP Sarkaria for listening to us. And we really do appreciate everything all levels of the government have done so far. And I guess it's our job to tell you where things do fall through the cracks. I know what all of the programs are there with good intentions, but I have two questions today. And the first one has to do with the wage subsidy. And one of the unfortunate things when we got into red zone and gray zone lockdown, the wage subsidy program, since it was switched to being the first 75% being paid to the employee, it required the employer to pay 25% of the wage in order to receive that subsidy. So when we're in this lockdown, revenues in the most affected businesses and the businesses that need the money the most, revenues dropped 80 to 100%. So when you have revenue drops so large, you can't afford to pay that 25% of the wage. Now in the spring, in the first wave, that 25, we didn't have to pay that 25% in order to get the wage subsidy. We were able to keep all our staff employed. Now we ended up having to lay off almost all of our staff, and it puts them into a poverty situation because they go on EI. Now, as you know, EI is less than the average rent in Mississauga. So that's a big problem. So it puts us in a terrible position. Now, I was suggesting in my article that the Ontario government could advocate the federal government to pay the first 75% of the wage again, like the first wave, at least minimum. And then since we're in gray zone lockdown, maybe the Ontario government could top up the wage subsidy, maybe 15 to 25%. So my question to you is, do you think your government can consider advocating the government to pay the first 75% of the wage subsidy as in the first wave, and the provincial government considering topping up the next 15 to 25%? That's the first question.
Thanks, John. And that's definitely something that I can take back to our team in terms of the top up. In terms of advocating at the federal level, happy to do that. That's, we have, weekly calls with our federal counterpart for me, my office, Minister Ng at the federal level. I can definitely get that message to their office and hopefully to PMO, and even relay it to our Minister of Finance, Peter Bethlenfalvy, who can have that conversation with Minister Freeland as well. So, John, happy to definitely do that. On the second part about the top up, that would be another support program that I can pitch towards Minister Bethlenfalvy and see if there is the ability to do a top up financially here at the province. So happy to take that into consideration. Definitely a good idea, I think.
Super, thank you. And the second one, I don't want to take up too much time, but the second one, and we've been harping on this for many months, the bank loans have been a big problem, and the banks aren't helping us out. So, and as I understand it, I've gotten further information that Canadian small business loans, the ones that are guaranteed by the government, has the same problem. And I think businesses that lease equipment also have the same problem, so that they can't get deferrals on their bank loans right now. During the first wave, everyone who asked and needed got a 6-month deferral on at least principal payments, a lot of them principal and interest payments on business loans and personal loans. And as you can imagine, bank loans and bank payments are sort of one of our biggest expenses in life. So what happened in the fall that the banks decided not to extend those deferrals, and even though we are in greater need now? And was it the federal government that mandated that? And if so, can you put pressure on the federal government and say, hey, you know what, all these businesses need deferrals? And let's be frank, that $1 million guaranteed government loan program, nobody wants it. Number one, only 6% of the businesses qualify, because the businesses that need it have to apply for a loan to the bank. So how can you get a loan when you have no revenue? Number two, then you got to pay that loan back. You're getting a loan to pay your other loans. And then when you have to pay the government loan back, now you got to pay 2 loans, right? It makes no sense. It would make more sense that if they push legislation to at least give the banks the ability, and I believe the banks might not be able to do it in the contracts. As I understand it, they can give legislation so that the banks can give deferrals, and then maybe throw the banks a bone to say something like, you can write off some bad debt in this case, because if the businesses get crushed by bank loans in the next 6 months and they go bankrupt, that's not helping anybody. At least they should be able to push that off for 6 months, at least 6 months, and maybe a year, until everybody gets back on their feet. I think it would be great for the economy and a big win for the government. So my question is, like, are you able to advocate for something like that? And I'm ready, willing, and able to discuss this later if you want to do that, and come up with a committee, maybe put some bankers on it, and see how we can come up with a solution for this problem. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I think another good suggestion. I'm not privy to the conversations from the banking sector and the federal government, so I'll have to loop back on that. And in terms of the advocacy part of it, I think a large part of even the first time around, when the banks and some of the insurance companies did give some deferrals or rebates, I think was a large part in advocacy from all levels of government to do such things. So I think that there is a part for us to play in that, and I'm happy to do that once again with our federal counterparts, just to see if we can push some of that narrative. I'm happy to do that, and we'll circle back maybe on the banking side again, and get into a bit more detail on that to see how we can work on that. I've spoken to a couple of execs at banks just to get a feeling of how their programs are going a couple of months ago, but I wasn't aware that they weren't extending some of the deferrals or helping out where needed. So happy to touch base with them again and to see if there's something that we can work around on that for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John, for those questions. Just before I turn it over to Natasha to get some of our members some questions here. I think one point in all that is the fact that when things start opening up, the small businesses need a runway to be able to, and I've discussed it with Rudy, they need a runway to be able to get their business and the engines fired up again. Just because they might be able to open at a half capacity or when things can open up a little bit, it's going to take a little while to get back on our feet, as well as pay back the mountains of debt that's going to be facing the small business owners. So we hope that a lot of these initiatives just don't end the day things starting to look a little better. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Natasha MacKinnon, who's now going to get our members to have a question directly for our special guests.
Thank you very much, Jake. I'm going to call on Ryan from Spice Lounge. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? All right. Hello, mainly for Prabmeet. I asked this question last time during the B.I.A. meeting. It's in regards to small business insurance. The follow-up that I've gotten since my first question, may I note, the problem being I'm a restaurant, and for us, without having any claims 5 years prior, actually ever, our rates went up by over 2.5 times. Going through different brokers and different insurance companies, it was the same across the board. It was all 2.5 times. The answer given was, of course, liability. So the last time I'd asked this of how could it be changed or what does the future look like, the answers I've gotten from trusted brokers and insurance companies is to expect the next year renewal to be the same. So do you have any input provincially of where you see, or is there any ways that we can have the insurance companies a little more accountable for having no real reason for the gouging? So I'll leave it there.
No, thanks, Ryan. Just if I could ask, how long ago did you apply for your renewal? How long ago was this?
Sure. So our renewal would have been for the would be middle of October. So coming into that time, and so now that's only, again, we're at 9 months away. So looking into the next 9 months, we're told that the same rates will be included.
So there was one thing the government did, and hearing a lot about the pressures on small businesses, the insurance companies were giving us a bit of a runaround in terms of, there's, more liability just because in case someone contracts COVID, within a facility. We actually passed legislation to address that in December. It officially passed the House. So now we're hoping to see the impact of that. So it would give, as long as, businesses aren't negligent in their, cleaning, of which I know that, any business that is currently operating right now has taken that into, taking health and safety as a top priority. As long as you're not negligent in that, then there is, statutory, through a new piece of legislation, protection for businesses. So that should help on the insurance side. If they can, so that was just enacted and passed in December. I'm hoping the effect of that this month, next month, as the next set of renewals. So hopefully year 2 of renewals, it doesn't have that impact because we gave them that protection, or businesses that protection. So that decreases your liability exposure. But we'll continue to monitor this, and this is definitely something that's on the radar of our team and the Premier as well, because if they're gouging businesses right now, that's unacceptable, and we don't want to see that happening. So definitely, if it's more regulation on this, I'm not in favor of much regulation, but if it's to support businesses, or if there's someone gouging businesses, then I'm all for it. So we'll definitely keep monitoring that and try to do whatever we can to ensure that it stabilizes or decreases.
Okay, yeah, just on that, when Jake even touches on the idea of when we hopefully get at this sooner or later, the idea of a running start for small businesses like ourselves, that's definitely a hindered start to have that in the back of your mind that it will continue.
Fair point. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to call on next Martina. The floor is yours.
Hi, and thank you, Minister. Really appreciate your time. And I'm the other owner from the Crooked Q. And I would just like to start by saying that I have applied for the funding from the provincial government, and it was very straightforward, and it worked really well. And so I thank you for that. It was actually much easier and less cumbersome than the federal programs, and less confusing. So I thank you for that. And I've also said many times that I feel sorry for small business owners that maybe English isn't their first language, especially for a lot of the federal programs, because they're so confusing that I had trouble figuring it out. And I was worried for other people but that's not the case with the provincial programs. They've been very straightforward, and I thank you so much for that. It makes one less stressful thing in your life, which is at this point good. But as far as the words that I really focused on from Stephen Dasko was bridging the gap. So there's been a lot of programs that have helped us bridge part of the gap. But for my business personally, to date, we are personally $90,000 in debt. And that's not counting lost income or wages from the two owners and lost profits. So my projection is that we will be reopening hopefully in May. And by then, if we were to put in lost profits, lost wages of the owners, and personal debt that will have been accumulated, it will be $500,000. And as we all know, normally when you go into debt, you are either buying assets or growing your business. So on your income statement, you have the depreciation of the new asset and the interest, but the principal is really offset by the depreciation. But in this situation, we're going into debt. There's no growth in business revenue, and there's no asset to depreciate. So when we start paying the debt back, it's going to be in after-tax dollars, which again puts more strain on your cash flow. And when we open up, our revenues and our profits are going to be for at least till 2021, the end of 21, maybe into 22, we realistically, our revenues are not going to be where they were in 2019, where we were already just managing our debt levels. So that is a huge issue that if you look at the balance sheet and the income statement for businesses, a lot of people who aren't in business don't understand that. So as I say, to date, we're 90,000 in debt. I'm projecting that we will be 150,000 in debt. We have chosen to access a personal line of credit of my mortgage on my house, which is better than doing the BCAP. So the BCAP, which is the federal government's answer, is that we would apply to the bank with our income statement, with our current, and they want the most up-to-date financial statements. Then we would have to qualify a debt to servicing ratio of 1.2 profit. And we have to take 100% of the line of credit up to $1 million upfront. At that time, they immediately on the full amount. So say I wanted to borrow $200,000 to get us through. So you at the beginning have to say how much you need to get you through the pandemic. So I say I need $200,000. They give you the $200,000 up front. They immediately start charging you interest. And the interest is the regular bank interest, which is around 3.5% to 4% for businesses, plus 1.25% premium that goes to the federal government. So when I inquired in this in the fall, plus on money, they're giving you money that you might not need until for another 6 months. So when I inquired, I said, so you want to give me the money that I don't need today, and now you want to charge me 4.5% interest, and like, no, more than that, it would have been like 6% interest, in which 1.25% of that is actually going to the federal government. And I'm thinking, how is this at all good for a small business? Like, the federal government is actually making money off of us. So then I decided that I'm going to actually borrow off my own personal line of credit, because that's actually cheaper than what the BCAP is. So just, I don't know if you know the program or if other people have brought it up, but to me, that's not helping a business bridging a gap. Like, you're crippling a business. Like, and then as far as the insurance, our insurance went up. We renewed in August. Our insurance went up 30%. So right now we're paying $3,300 a month in insurance, and our revenues are down 98%. And our liability is pretty much down to zero because we're not selling any alcohol. So I have written letters asking for the insurance to relook at our insurance. I'm getting nothing. And then I'm getting back, you're lucky yours only went up 30%. And I said, but I don't understand. Even projecting, we're not going to be open full capacity. I project my revenues are going to be down like 40 to 60%. So then the insurance came back and said, well, we will not accept a decrease greater than 25% of your revenues over 2019. So
Yeah,
we are willing. So that right there is ridiculous.
Yeah, we've heard from a lot of our members about the insurance issue, and I know you addressed it earlier, Prabmeet. So maybe that could be a topic for another day. And John, when we kind of start getting back on our advocating committee, we'll make sure that's at the top of the list because it's affecting all businesses. So if you got anything to add, Prabmeet, if not, we have to go. Definitely do another member there, Martina, because we have a bunch of people wanting to speak. Thank you.
Just very briefly on that, Martina, I think I wasn't aware of the 1.25% to the federal government. That's a great flag for us. I will definitely look into that. And the terms of the loan usually aren't told to us at a provincial level right away. I'm happy if you could summarize that a bit in an email for me. And send it over to our office. I will get that looked into ASAP. And I did not know that there was that element of payback or that interest rate to the federal government. So I'm happy to look at that for you. Thanks for raising it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Then I'm going to call on next to Maureen O'Neill from the Shore. Maureen had submitted a question, and the question here is, give me one moment, please.
In the meantime, sorry, while Tasha, you look that up, if there's anyone on this meeting that would like to say a few words or ask a question, if you could please raise your hand or drop something in the chat so we know who to call on next, that would be great. We have a few more minutes left, so we'd like to definitely maximize.
Okay, great. While I look for that, I see Robert, your hand is up. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi, Robert Namofsky here from Suds Laundrette in Port Credit. Back in a year ago in March, the government put together a Ontario Together stream where they asked any businesses that could help out or have suggestions to try and help out during the pandemic. At that time, we filled out all the forms, did everything, didn't get any replies, and we're waiting. I contacted Rudy's office, and he was trying to find some information. And 4 or 5 months later, he was able to find out that although my business has been approved, we were approved on the Ontario Together stream, not the Ontario Together fund stream. So that was a little confusing to begin with, because what we were proposing is for us as a small business locally to help out the long-term care centers and do the laundry, because with all the issues going there, we looked at this as a win-win whereby we could help out the long-term care centers with all the issues they are having with staffing and so forth, as well as then helping a local business to keep their staff employed and keep moving. To date, and still trying to find out, apparently I've been approved, but I haven't got any documentation. When I asked why, I was told, well, you're not going to be getting a letter like that, but you've been approved. So, I'm a little skeptical that I'm being told that, yes, I'm approved and I can help out, but yet I have nothing that I can even go to some of the other long-term care, the seniors homes to show them that we have been approved and vetted by the province. So my question is how do I go about getting some documentation from the province, or is this even still a program? Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. The program does still exist in the Ontario Together Fund. I can loop back into Minister Fideli's office, who's running the Ontario Together Fund, to see if there are letters or endorsement letters that are being put forward. I just do know that they had a significant intake of applications, over 20 to 30,000 applications. So maybe that is what led to a bit of a delay there. But regardless, if you have been accepted, then I'm not sure if there would be an issue from their office to send a letter or some sort of correspondence saying that you were approved or accepted. So we can definitely follow up on that with you and touch base with Minister Fideli to see if that is still a possibility or not.
Can I email you directly?
Yeah, sure. Not a problem at all. I'll have my office put our email in the chat.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
No
Prabmeet, do you have a hard stop, or do you got another 5 minutes or 10 minutes in you?
5 minutes, and then I've got a hard stop at 2:50, if that's okay.
That's okay. Thank you for the extra 5. Okay. While we have our members here, does anybody else have a question, please?
So I have a question here from one of our community members. That's the owner of Eyebrows Nails and Salon. So the question reads, to keep the to 75% wage subsidy past March 2021 as well. It was increased for a short period of time from December to March. And after that, it goes back to 65%. So once we open, we would like to know if we would have support to get back on our feet. So extend it till December 2021.
And that was a wage subsidy, Natasha? Is that, if I heard
That's
that
correct. That's correct.
Yeah. The wage subsidy is federally administered. I think their current site said until March or April, but they're probably going to extend it to July now, I think, if it hasn't already been announced. But not completely sure. That's something that we can touch base with our federal counterparts. And I must say that as the pandemic has gone forward, a lot of deadlines have been extended. A lot of programs continue to be extended. The rent relief program was initially only in for 3 months, and then it got extended to until July of 2021. So there's probably definitely opportunities for us to have those discussions, and happy to do that on behalf of your members.
Thank you very much. Great. Is there anybody else that has any questions? Please raise your hand. Or yes, I see Patricia. Go ahead.
Hi, okay, I just have a quick question. With regards to the rebates for the property tax and the energy bill, I'm a business in Port Credit that rents, and so I don't really pay any of the energy bills or property taxes. With regards to myself as a small business, am I just capped at the rent subsidy then that the federal government provides?
Do you pay TMI in your lease?
It's all included.
It's all just one amount?
Yeah.
Then it would probably not the insurance. I mean, the property tax wouldn't, and even energy is included in there.
So my landlord then is able to apply for that, correct?
Landlord would not be able to apply for the only business. Yeah, only if you've been shut down. So if your business has been shut down, they'd be able to apply for it, but a landlord wouldn't be able to apply for the energy subsidy.
They would not be able to apply for it?
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to. Do you get an energy bill at all? Do you get anything to your business directly?
No, I know that I know my utilities and my taxes are inclusive of my rent. So I'm just thinking that if they're 100%, you know, you can claim 100% of them, but yet through the federal subsidy, I'm only getting 75% and possibly the top up because of the closure. So I'm just wondering if there's anything else that's available for a small business that rents and has those included in their rent.
Yeah, technically on that, then there wouldn't be, but you can access the up to $20,000 grant that we just released on Friday. Ontario.ca/small business, and you can get that grant if you haven't already.
And that has nothing to do with, like, it's not tied to spending that money for PPE or anything like that. It's just,
it's
okay.
just you see fit to spend it on. You can spend it on that. So it doesn't, whether you want to spend it on payroll, you want to spend it on PP, if you don't want to spend it on anything.
Okay.
That's no requirement for us.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Now that we kind of have that last question wrapped up, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Prabmeet, thank you very, very much. And we are going to reach out to you to hopefully have a part 2 of this in some time. I know you're extremely busy, you and Rudy, but we definitely found it very informative today. For all our members out there, please stay safe. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we are going to get through this. Port Credit is going to be vibrant again, like it is. And it comes with the strength of all the people and business owners, our entrepreneurs. They're used to getting knocked down and getting back up. They're used to red tape. They're used to different levels of government being in our way. At the end of the day, we can all survive with each other. So on that note, thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact the Port Credit office for anything. And we're always accessible. Thank you very much, everybody. And have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care. Thank you.
Great job.